recording?
You did, yep.
All right, cool. Well,
Do you want to do your intro stuff?
yeah, I guess. I don't know what I want to intro, so I guess essentially it's welcome to the Small Fringe Minority podcast, where you get to hear the opinions of those of us from the small fringe minority, I suppose, of Canadians who are ready to move on with life, I guess, and get back to living instead of being in fear all the time. So I'm Graham, and this is my buddy Ethan. So, I mean, I guess you can say a little something just so...
Yeah, I mean, unvaccinated, we both are, truly. But it's not really what it's about, is it? Like, it's about the choice to say no to these government mandates that are a very large overreach, which we'll get into.
Yeah, of course. And so I guess to explain the name Small Fringe Minority, so recently, in case you're listening to this later on or you don't really know, there's a large convoy of truckers that headed out to the capital of our country, which is Ottawa, Ontario. And basically they went because there was a new mandate coming into effect, which is going to say that anyone who's trucking in Canada or in the United States wouldn't be able to cross the border without having their vaccinations. So basically the argument here is that 90% of the truckers are vaccinated, so why can't the other 10% just get vaccinated and then they can just keep doing their job. We wouldn't have to worry about it. So I guess in saying that, then Justin Trudeau decided to say that anyone who associated theirself with the movement of truckers going to protest these mandates and all of the mandates that are going on across Canada that have to do with taking away freedoms that we used to have, are a small fringe minority of Canadians with unacceptable views. And so I thought that was really funny, and I made a I don't know if I'm pointing at it in the video, if you're watching the video. If not, we made a website where you can buy hats that say Small Fringe Minority on it. You can get some bumper stickers and t-shirts, all that type of stuff, just to show that you're part of the small fringe minority, with the air quotes there.
Yeah, to show truly how big our small fringe minority is. Like, it's like 10% of the 10% of the truckers are unvaccinated, but look how many trucks are in Ottawa. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's more than just the unvaccinated. It's everybody who's done with these mandates and done with these government overreaches just everywhere across the border. Like,
yeah.
And everywhere across the world, people are supporting these truckers. Like, it's not just the 10% of truckers that are doing this. Like, it's the whole world.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who are double and triple vaccinated who are completely behind this movement as well, because they're saying at this point, like, we've done what we can. Some people just aren't going to listen. They need to take their risks. I've decided what my risk level is going to be, and we need to be able to live our life no matter what our choices are, right? And they're tired, even just being vaccinated. There's a lot of things you can't do that you used to be able to do, and we're all just tired of it.
Losing our jobs, tired of like the complete idiocracy of it. Like, it's an idiocracy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a perfect example, Justin Trudeau, our I don't know what to call him, our tyrant in chief, or the prime minister. He is triple vaccinated, and this week he's isolating because he has COVID. So they keep saying we need to get vaccinated to get ourselves out of this pandemic, but clearly that's not the case if you're going to be still needing to isolate when you're triple vaccinated. Getting vaccinated isn't going to make that big of a difference.
he's scared, man. Like he's there hiding away, and like he came out of his little hidey hole today to say, to really, like he was really trying to not say anything so that people would like ruin him, because like he was taking it very lightly. Like he,
Absolutely.
you like enough so that you knew what he was trying to say. Like you, like screw us. Like me and you, even though like we're not truckers, we're voters. We are of this younger generation. We're not white supremacists or white nationalists, but that's what he's putting on us. Even though he was taking it, he was doing it very lightly. That's exactly what he wanted to say, and like he just wouldn't say it because he knows that like that's too far. Like because there's so many people who are like very much opposed to those beliefs, like of these white nationalists and Nazis and Confederate flag flyers. Like we don't like associate with those people, and we have like it's crazy. We have as much like disdain for those people as anybody. But,
absolutely.
So being called that just like sparks some sort of like feeling of like,
this is crazy.
Like, why would you put that on me?
Yeah, it's like almost to the point that at this point, those people have done just as much damage to communities as the Trudeau government has done to our community at this point. It's, we're from a really small area in Nova Scotia, Weymouth, if anybody knows where that is. And, being here, you can really see the impact that all of these mandates have had on people's lives. I've talked to a lot of my friends in the city. I go to the University of Waterloo, and so I have a lot of friends out there who obviously they have a different perspective because they're not really able to see what happens in small communities, and really a lot of them have never even been to smaller communities to even know how life works there. And so it's just that we're all working towards the same goal here, and that's to have the least amount of human suffering as possible. And the issue is that the government that we have in place right now is so detached from the regular people in society who live in smaller areas like this, or who don't have a lot of money in the bank saved up to be able to take a week off of work, or be able to move out to their cottage in the country where there's all these other people just hiding away in their cottages and all of that type of stuff. Like a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, day to day, just trying to make it by, and this is making it so much more difficult for all those people. And at this point, it's like the marginal difference that it's going to make if everybody gets vaccinated isn't really worth the damage that it's going to do to continue having all of these mandates that we have in place right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyways, so I guess we can go sort of into my personal pandemic journey, I guess, just so that you have an idea of where I'm coming from as a person. So I was going to university in Waterloo. I was staying in Waterloo with a bunch of my friends. I just started my first co-op work term, and I was doing an e-co-op, which was where you get the opportunity to start your own business. They give you all the support you need. They allow you to take courses. They'll pay for you to take courses and stuff to learn the stuff that you need. And you just basically become an entrepreneur through this program. And I had a really good time. I learned a lot of great stuff, met a lot of great people and all of that. And then the pandemic hit. So, things kind of went up in the air a little bit. And I ended up coming back home to Nova Scotia. And so I started staying in Digby, which, I love it here. It's beautiful and everything, but there's really not any opportunity here. The one thing that was really nice is that it was super safe, because we actually didn't have very much COVID here at all until later on in the pandemic. Even now, is probably the worst that we've seen it. It's been, we've seen the most concentrated amount of cases in our area through the Omicron wave, and even then, it from what I've seen, it hasn't been extremely detrimental to the healthcare system, and really what I've seen is that the mandates that have been put into place have been more detrimental to our community than COVID as an actual sickness has been throughout this whole time. So anyways, start of 2020, I'm back in Digby. I start doing online school. I did 3 terms back to back. So a term's 4 months, so I did 12 months back to back of online school. And starting at the end of that second term, I started working for a nonprofit called Turning the Tide, which is a inspiring communities initiative that was put into place here in Digby, because Digby is actually one of the lowest socioeconomic places in Canada, and they came here because what they're trying to do is basically use a bottom-up approach to try to build solutions to help the community to build itself back up again. Unfortunately, because of all of the pandemic measures that were put into place, we were unable to do most of the work that we needed to do. Before I joined the team, they built up a lot of momentum by doing a lot of community meetings and getting a lot of people together who regularly weren't getting together. So it was working really well, and they were starting to build momentum. And so, they shifted really well, moved everything online, and they still tried to keep everyone together, still tried to keep that morale up of, we're going to try to make a difference here and change things again. But it's just way too difficult to keep people together by only meeting online. There's something about being with other people in a place that really makes it so that you can get your ideas together and really get that camaraderie that you need in order to do stuff together, right? And so through that time, I really developed my social consciousness a lot. I started reading a lot more books and things about a lot of the systemic issues that have impacted not only my area specifically, but just the world in general. But I was also able to get a really close look at a lot of the issues that were really affecting our area. Unfortunately, all of these pandemic measures really, really, really exacerbated all of the problems that we were already having in our area. And, trying to do work to counter that, which was being subsidized by the government, while the government at the same time was making it impossible for us to do any of the work that they were mandating us to do, was kind of it was really weird experience, because it felt like you're just spinning your tires up against a wall, and the wall is giving you the stuff that you need to keep spinning your tires, but the wall is not moving out of the way for you to be able to go and do what it wants you to do. It's just super weird. So I decided to split ways with them. I still am being involved here and there, and that's going to be good. I'd like to be involved again if we can ever get to a point where we can start getting the community back together again and really start moving forward on all of these things. So anyways, I decided at the end of that year that I was working for Turning the Tide that I was going to move on, and a job position came up at my high school, and so I decided to apply for that. It was an African Nova Scotian student support worker, which I'm African Nova Scotian myself. My dad's side of the family grew up, they've been in Weymouth Falls, Nova Scotia forever. Shout out Weymouth Falls. We're doing fundraising for the Sam Langford Community Center in Weymouth Falls as well, which you can see right here. That's also on the site if you want to donate there. So anyways, I guess I'll go into just Weymouth Falls just for one quick second. So Weymouth Falls is a small black community on the outskirts of Weymouth, Nova Scotia. That's it's been there for really long time. I'm not going to go into all the systemic issues that have really affected the community, but if you know anything about Nova Scotia, you know that during the exodus from the United States after slavery, there was a lot of people that moved here to Nova Scotia. There were also a lot of Jamaican Maroons that had come up into Nova Scotia, and Black Loyalists and such. So these communities are all over Nova Scotia. It's really interesting to see if you ever come to Nova Scotia. Pretty much every community, if you go to it, there's like the regular community, and then there's another road off to the side, like nearby, and they're the black communities of the area where those peoples would have lived back then, and still now even. So I'm kind of like, for my family, the first to come out of there. Like my dad still lives in Weymouth Falls, and all of his family, like direct lineage, all were in Weymouth Falls for forever. So it's been interesting for me to be able to get out in the world here and see what things are, coming from that perspective. And anyways, so in coming from this place and then being able to get this job as African Nova Scotian student support worker, and with the education that I've had, I was able to really help the students with connecting with the work in a way that a lot of other people have hard time with, because it's sometimes it's hard to connect with people from different backgrounds as you, and that's why they have the program in place. And so that was really good. And so during this time also, the ramp up of all of these vaccine mandates were happening, and I kind of knew that it was coming, that they were going to decide to fire anyone who wasn't vaccinated. But also from my educated perspective, I suppose, from what I understand, like I've learned enough about vaccinations and the immune system to know that for me personally, my risk level from COVID itself is really low, and from the vaccine also very low, but it just seemed unnecessary to me to get it when I would be fine if I got COVID itself. And I've had COVID now, Ethan as well, and we were both fine. Neither of us are vaccinated.
And it's like the way that the vaccine works too. Like it's not just like a shot or even 2 shots or even 3 shots that you get and then you're fine. It's a thing that they're saying is like more resistance every time. So like, but the question is how many times and how much resistance, because to me, like, the science isn't really clear on like the vaccine giving you like abundance of resistance, especially when a new wave comes out and you need to get a new vaccine to cover this new strain of the virus. Mm-hmm. Even though like we've got it to a point where like the newest variant of COVID-19 is like the weakest.
Yeah, it's the weakest, but it's also the most transmissible.
Exactly. Yeah,
even through vaccination, it's completely transmissible. Mm-hmm. And it's just, so it's not necessarily that I don't think vaccines work. Like, I've taken a lot of vaccines in my life. I just found that for me and my situation, this vaccine was pretty unnecessary, and the only reason that I would be taking it would have been because of coercion and not because of informed consent. And I'm a kinesiology student, and in all of our work, even if we're not actually working with a real client, we still need to go through the process of how we would take someone through the process of getting their informed consent on anything. Like, even just setting up like a workout program for someone, you need to tell them, this is where you're at, these are your health things, and then you take them through like, these are your risks, these are the interventions that we're going to try to do in order to alleviate those things, or these are the risks that this intervention put you at. And then the client themselves has to say, okay, yes, we can do that. But you need to not only get them to say, okay, yes, I will do that, but you need to also inform them on where they're at, what you're going to be doing, and how those two things interact with each other. And as of right now, with the vaccine, that's just completely not what's going on at all. And that's what I really have a problem with, is that there's, they're just pretending like there's no difference between people here, and they're using that whole idea to impose a lot of things that are just completely, in my opinion, unnecessary, and they're causing a lot more damage than a lot of people are seeing, and it's affecting people in ways that our government right now aren't willing to admit. And it's really unfortunate because, like I said earlier, all anyone really wants here is to alleviate human suffering as much as possible. Yeah. I guess we kind of got off track there a little bit. So anyways, I had this job at the school and I was having a really great time. I really was connecting with some of the students that were having trouble, honestly, in class with their other educators. And, that's not their fault. It's just, sometimes it takes a different type of personality to connect with certain people. So I felt like I was making a real difference at the school for a while. And then November 30th came, where they imposed the mandate, and I was put on unpaid leave. So I wasn't fired, because legally they're not allowed to fire me, or I could sue them, because they're not allowed to fire you based on medical decision, but they can decide to put me on unpaid leave. So that put me in a situation where I don't have a job. I'd taken this year off of school. I can't get any sort of employment insurance or anything like that, even though I've been working this whole time. And so, it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. And so I was like, you know what, like, this was really stressful. Like, the whole build up to that happening, I was kind of, talking to a lot of people about it, and, everyone's hands are tied at that point. Like, they're just trying to keep their job, and they don't want to, ruffle any feathers that are gonna make them, lose their position that they're in. Because in a place like this, especially, if you're not working for the government, you're probably not making a lot of money. Unfortunately, that's just the case. Like I said earlier, lowest socioeconomic place around, one of the lowest in Canada. So, everybody just, I would talk to them and they'd be like, I understand your situation, but my hands are tied. Like, I can't do anything about this. And that's sort of the sentiment that a lot of people have right now. And a lot of people aren't really willing to speak out, just because they don't want to lose, the positions that they have. And it's unfortunate that people have to decide between what they think is right and their job.
Yeah, livelihood.
And their livelihood, yeah. So I took a month off, and I was like, well, maybe I'll go get another job. So I went back to Tim Hortons, which was a place that I worked when I was in high school, and they took me back with open arms. It was awesome. If any of you there are listening, like, thank you very much. I really appreciated that opportunity. The problem is, I realized how much government intervention there really is at every level of things now, because even in working there were so many new rules that I just, like, they made sense. They make things more healthy, more safe, but they take away from your ability to really do the job and make people have a good day. I personally, I care more about connecting with the people that come through than making sure that you're doing everything directly by the book 100% the whole time. And then the other issue really was, I was out there at the counter, and I would have to be asking people for their vaccination status in order for them to sit down in the store. And to me, it just, like, it felt so wrong, like, because I myself, I disagreed with that whole thing myself. So how am I going to impose that on someone else? And so that's a position that a lot of people are in as well, is they're having to impose these rules on people that they don't even believe in themselves in order to keep their jobs. And I guess the final straw really for me was one day I was out wiping the tables up so I could go on my break. And I just realized that I was wiping up tables that I wasn't allowed to sit down at. And I was like, I don't think that I can do this. Yeah, no problem. And so we just kept going. I kept going to work there for a little while, and unfortunately, my friend got COVID, so then we were on a week hiatus from going out because of the public health measures, which, that makes sense, I suppose. We're going to stop the spread of COVID here. And so during that time, I decided, I don't want to go back and keep doing that type of stuff. And so here we are now, making a podcast about being the small fringe minority of people who are against all of this stuff, right? Small fringe minority of people who are against all this stuff. So really the craziest thing to me is, I've been in all of these different places and positions through this time, and I see the sentiment is people are tired of this stuff. They don't want to be doing it anymore. It was understandable at one point, like people need to be vaccinated. People that are at risk, they needed to be vaccinated. Vulnerable populations absolutely needed to be vaccinated, but for us to pretend like everybody's just the exact same, and then also for us to just deny people their informed consent to taking that medical procedure is just ridiculous to me.
The thing too, like, they've already got so many people by these like harsh and strict, like, you have to have it for education, for a job, for whatever it is that you're trying to do, you have to have it. And it's like, it shuts you down completely unless you take it. So that, like, this 90% of people, again, like, they've got 90% of people vaccinated, but like not like half of those people maximum are fully into it. Like, there's easily like a lot of people who got it because they were forced to, got it because they were scared at first, but have now realized that, like, this is too much, we're going too far. Like, people are losing their jobs, and that's what, like, the freaking Convoy is all about. It's like, they're going to lose their jobs. Sure, like, they're going to be crossing some border, but, like, straight up, they're losing their jobs. Many people have already lost jobs, and people, like, not being able to live because of time off work from COVID, like mandatory isolation.
Another big problem has been with the schools closing down and things like that. Like, in a place like this, parents can't afford to stay home with their kids. Unfortunately, that's the case. Average 2-parent income in this place is probably around $50,000 a year, maybe. And hi, Stitch. We got the dog here. He's coming to hang out for a minute. Okay, buddy. Go with mom.
It's not live anymore.
No, it's not live, so I can cut that. So, when you're in a situation where parents, they can't afford to stay home with their kids, and, the kids are 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, like, these kids are either staying home alone or they need to go to a daycare anyways, so they're going to be with other kids anyways. And so it's just like, maybe the mandates make sense in a place like Toronto. Maybe they make sense in a place like Halifax. Maybe they would even make sense in a place like Kentville. But, for a place like here, just, it's not making any sense. It's destroying a lot of what we have. And another big thing is that the kids' youths are being taken away, and that's one of the biggest problems that I really have. Is there's a difference between being alive and living, to me, and I think that it's time for us to be alive to start living again, so that our lives are worth being alive for, right?
I kind of get where you're coming from, where you're saying it makes sense. Like, it's like common sense, sort of, like if you're sick type thing, to stay away from people. But honestly, I can't agree with the mandates making sense anywheres, because like people are being segregated from going out, from they're losing their jobs because of these mandates. Like, obviously but like I can't let
at this stage it doesn't really make any sense anymore, and so here we are, the small fringe minority of society, coming to try to save everybody. I don't know if you want to be saved and be able to live your life again, or you'd rather stay home scared of COVID forever and make everybody else stay home and scared with you. I guess that's your choice to make, but I just I think that at this point I don't believe other people's fear should make everyone else have to conform to that fear.
I feel like for that small fringe minority, like the opposite of what our small fringe is, I'd say it's about like 50-50, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But then with like some extremists on either end.
Absolutely, yeah.
I completely forgot what I was
there's some people who don't even believe that COVID was a thing, and there's some people that don't even believe that vaccines work at all. And that's not like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, this clearly has happened. Vaccines are clearly making a bit of a difference for everyone. But for us to pretend like vaccines are just going to fix everything if everyone gets one is absolutely ridiculous, because clearly that's not true either. And that's really the stance that the Liberal government is taking, and the stance that they're taking, like, right there, is then making it so that nobody can take any other stance, because they have the power to say, this is the stance that we're taking, and we're taking the stance of 100% fear and 100% safety, and if you're not okay with that, then you're part of the small fringe minority of society with unacceptable views, and you're not a Canadian.
Small fringe, baby.
Small fringe, I suppose.
I feel like that sort of extremist group of really like hardcore Trudeau followers, I feel like Trudeau has like really created an atmosphere of hatred towards this small fringe, which is actually a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we should call it the small fringe majority. Small fringe majority.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It's the divisiveness is just absolutely insane. Like he's pretending like everybody that is anti-mandate is anti-human, and that's just not true at all. Like, there's different views on what people see as being worth it in life, and I think that people should be able to have those opinions and live in that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I guess this is just the first podcast, just to kind of get everyone sort of settled in where I'm at, and sort of where Easy's at. So if you want to talk a little bit about like what your journey's been like through this, and sort of how it's changed your perspective on things, that'd be cool too. And then that way we can during our next podcast we'll go through maybe some other things, and I'd also like to try to get guests on the podcast as well. to talk about what it's been like from their perspective. And even people who are pro mandate, like, we need to like have these conversations so that I'm not like, there's no way that everyone who's pro mandate are saying this because they are saying it because their perspective sees it as good, but from someone in this perspective, they see it as bad. Yeah. 4? Oh, yeah. I'll be up in a minute. Yeah. So basically, there's, some people who are for these mandates. They just are for the mandates because from their perspective, they've made a positive impact. But it's hard for people to have the conversation with each other when everyone's just screaming and trying to shut each other's ideas down. So yeah, we'd like to have some people on here so that we can have some good conversations. We'd also like to have some people who are against these mandates from other perspectives than just ours, to see why other people are against this stuff. And so anyways, I'll give the floor to E so that he can talk a little bit about what's been like for him.
Yeah, I mean, my journey has kind of been pretty simple. I'm simply unvaccinated. I've been seeing people all around me have to cave into getting vaccinated by like these government smackdowns. It's been crazy. Like, obviously, privileges have been being taken away from me, which, like, can't go to restaurants, can't go to movie theaters. It's like whatever. Like, I'm a huge movie guy, but like that's like I've been going without it for like a year now, and like it's completely fine. It's no skin off my back. Like, that's why I'm still unvaccinated. It's just that they haven't been able to get to me in that way. But like, when I see people around me losing their jobs, like you have, getting forced to get vaccinated against their own like independence and consciousness and like ability to make those sort of decisions, like being stripped away from people, forcibly injected for school, for jobs, for all of this stuff. My mother as well lost a job because of not being vaccinated, a job that she's been doing she's been working, obviously, because I mean, again, around here, like, that's what it takes. Like, but she's had a bunch of different jobs. She finally got one working with some special needs adults, and she loved it so much, but had to be put on unpaid administrative leave again, so that she couldn't get her unemployment, although she had enough hours to do so. The way she was let off made it so that she couldn't get it. And so I decided to start making some content, try and get my name out there, like so that people will listen to what I'm saying, and so that I might be able to share some vaccine misinformation with you. That's all I'm trying to do is spread vaccine misinformation, and it's good stuff. But no, honestly, like, just to get out there to tell people that, like, we're independent, like, human beings on this earth. Everybody's got a story, and like, you can't let these social medias and like mainstream medias, as well as like what these leaders are telling you and supposed doctors, I'm talking to you, Strang, like, it's screwed up. You don't have to listen to these people. Like, how do they actually hold any weight over your lives? And like, that's kind of what I'm trying to show out here, is like, Trudeau can say whatever he wants. Strang, Houston can say whatever they want. The guy down at the freaking restaurant, Tim's, who says I can't sit down in there, can say whatever he wants, because I know that I'm a human being, and I'm gonna have my independence and do what I want. And like if these like minor privileges are taken away from me, like you don't got me. So and like Graham's situation is so much more gangster though. Like Trudeau was telling him like do this, like you have to, you got a job, like I'm paying you, like your money is coming out of my hand, so you got to do it. And you're like, nah. Yeah. So,
oh man.
it's great.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's unnecessary, and that's again why we're here.
Yeah, and we're ready to move on, and try to help out. Like we're young people, we're young men. I'm 22. You're 23.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and like we're ready to start, being part of society and like putting some good out into the world. And it just feels like all of that energy is being stifled to such an extreme extent that it's almost like you don't want us here. And also, like our opinions are basically, our opinions I don't think are too extreme, and we're just trying to, shed some light on the fact that there are other circumstances in the world, and we come from a place where those other circumstances are, and so we have to stand in that, and we also have to share it as people who are able to do that, and hopefully it'll help us be able to add to society someday in some way.
Yep, they're trying to keep us down, but like as they can see, there's no way. Like truckers trending on Twitter, Gitter getting so popular, Joe Rogan staying on Spotify, like you can't silence us.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, we're getting out there and we're telling you all about all this stuff and like what they'll call vaccine misinformation, even though we're literally like just talking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how it's misinformation.
Like this conversation that we're having right now is dangerous to society.
Yeah.
According to them.
According to Justin Trudeau.
Which is crazy because we're literally here just talking.
Yeah, and just showing people what the perspective has been from, being who we are in the place that we are.
Exactly.
So, anyways, hopefully this has been insightful for some people, and I'm going to try to get some guests lined up for some other podcasts. And there's also some other topics that I think me and Ethan could go into that would be interesting for some people as well. So come on back and have a listen, and have a wonderful day. Spread the love, spread the peace, spread the unity. That's all we need in life right now, okay? We got to come together again as people and stop letting the powerful control the people. We need to just live. We need to live again.
That's a good way to end it.
All right.